Brave and the Bold is a DCU project that I can't say I'm not interested in.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for. This is exactly, I don't mean to sound like Cat Williams, but this is exactly what I've been waiting for.
It will be the first exploration of the Bat family in live action since whatever Batman and Robin was. I'm a big fan of the Batman and what Matt Reeves is doing over there. Such a big fan, in fact, that I thought James would just piggyback his DCU off of the Batman. But it's not time for me to complain about that. Let's just let bygones be bygones. I'm glad the DCU is doing the most they can to separate themselves from the Batman though. Focusing on the Bat family and not even naming Batman the title of the movie, really great stuff. I know a lot of people are concerned about the DCU just erasing Tim Drake or Jason Todd in the robbing pecking order because it doesn't fit the timeline, and I only got one thing to say to you.
We don't give a fuck!
I mean, let's just do some math. Bruce's parents can cease to exist anywhere between the ages of 8 to 12, but let's just go with 10. At age 14, Bruce leaves Gotham and travels the world in trains for 10 years. He comes back at 24 and begins to be Batman. At the beginning of year 3, he brings in a partner, Dick Grayson, who is the age of 13. The next year, Barbara Gordon joins the fold as Batgirl, who is a year older than Dick, so 14. The next 5 years, Batman and Robin are the dynamic duo until Dick is fired or quits. Doesn't really matter how it happens, it just happens. He is 18 and Bruce is 31. The same year Dick is fired, Jason, who is 14, is brought in as a second Robin, and the following year, he dies. And this is super rough for Batman, but this is canonically how it happened in the comics. The Killing Joke happens in the same year as well. The following year, with the help of Dick, Tim, who is 14, is able to become Batman's partner, either Red Robin or Robin, but I personally prefer Robin. And for the next 5 years, Tim and Bruce are the dynamic duo until this dude shows up who basically stiff arms Tim Drake to the sideline. But we'll see that in Brave and the Bold because that's where the timeline ends. For some reason, people have a problem with an older Batman, but I get it. Ben was not the best. His problem wasn't his age though, it was the fact that he was the Punisher wearing a Batman suit. I mean, in this universe, as long as Batman isn't a murderous psychopath, his canonical age of 38 is just fine. Along with a 25-year-old Dick Grayson, a 26-year-old Barbara Gordon, a 21-year-old but dead Jason Todd, 19-year-old Tim Drake, if you want, a 19-year-old Stephanie Brown, and finally, a 10-year-old feisty Damian Wayne. This Oliver Jackson Cohen fan cast of Batman has been shoved down my throat on Twitter.
Pause.
And I've seen some of his work and he would make a pretty cool Batman, I can't lie. I do have some concerns about Bruce Wayne, but I'm sure you could figure it out. I don't know. I fan casted Dick and Barbara before right there. Tim and Steph is a little harder to do, but they'll probably just pick up from Disney Kids or something. And I wouldn't know anything about that because I'm a grown man who doesn't watch kids shows. I'm also just never going to fan cast Damian. It's a lose-lose, just don't do it. But for Jason Todd, if he does show up, I think Nicholas Hamilton could do a pretty good job as him. He fits the age range for this Jason Todd, and I feel like he would bring a lot of that anger and angst to the character, as in most of the things I've seen him in, he's just very angry and angsty. The story of this movie I think will have a lot to do with the family, either from the father and son aspect or just the whole Bat family. To fit the themes of the protagonists, we have to have the correct adversaries to mirror or challenge our heroes. It's a very strenuous process, but Batman has plenty of villains to choose from. When it was first announced, I immediately thought of the Court of Owls. It's the perfect way to undermine the legend of the Batman. Damian is a brat who at first only respects violence and strength. And although he probably won't say it, he respects his father a lot for those reasons alone. But when those attributes are seemingly brushed away within the matter of 40 to 50 minutes movie-wise, Damian will basically see Bruce as a loser and not worth his time or respect. And Bruce will have to navigate the changing map of Gotham and at the same time try to keep Damian under control. Basically a common parent-child type of movie. To me, it creates a great dynamic towards the father and son duo, but it does kind of leave out the rest of the family to me. And that's when I went a little bit deeper into my thoughts, and I started to remember a certain Poison Ivy story that I just can't find anymore, which just pisses me off, but it was a very similar story to her New 52 origin of her father being abusive and killing her mother. But the story I remember reading or hearing or watching was that her father was a scientist and she was exposed to certain chemicals that slowly turned her into Poison Ivy. But through the years, her dad kept her captive and not even treating her as a daughter but as an experiment, and her mother, I believe, passed, but I can't remember if it was due to her dad or because of her powers. All I can say is that I remember this story really painting a picture of how family is not picked and it can really poison you. Her story could mirror the Bat family, as they are a family that was picked and make each other better for it. It brings together the whole family to fight a foe that has just as much power as them and gained it through opposite means. It almost acts as a nature versus nurture type of story, where naturally Poison Ivy and her really bad upbringing with her father, and Batman has the family that was nurtured into heroes. But this story doesn't really cover that father and son dynamic that well. It could be a good part of the story, but everyone knows the real overarching plot is the family as a whole. A villain that could help the plot is the other half of Damian's family. The League of Assassins has a certain mission that at times can be similar to Batman's, but the way they go about things are different. The story would really revolve around Damian and the duality of his family. Will he choose to be with his mother and grandfather who will kill to see a perfect world, or will he stay with his father and fight to build one? Or who knows, maybe he just fucks off and goes to a monk temple or something. Now, the next villain I'm about to mention, a lot of people will say that they don't care for it and they don't want to see it this soon, but it brings a lot to think about when it comes to Batman and his family. And that villain is Jason Todd, Red Hood. Now just think, the fallen sun returns as the blood sun takes up the mantle of Robin. Not that he should care that much about it, but it just shows Damian and Bruce how disconnected family can be. Red Hood could do the same stuff he was doing in Under the Red Hood, taking control of Gotham through their gangs, making it safer for the citizens and ultimately kind of criminals as well. His tactics of brute violence and killing completely oppose Batman's tactics and kind of align with Damian's. He could start to view Jason's way of justice as a better one compared to Bruce's, kind of like what they did with him in Injustice with Superman. Let's just not kill Dick this time. This tension would create the weird father and son dynamic James Gunn was talking about when he announced this project. Not only would Damian be a part of it, but so would Jason and Tim and Dick. They can all have their views about the situation. Tim could be on Batman's side because we all know that's where he wants to be, and probably go out and try to fight Jason and end up stabbed or something because we know he's good at that too. Dick could be in the middle, not agreeing with Jason's methods but also having issues with Bruce's methods ever since he quit or was fired. Again, doesn't matter. Not only does this give the Bat family something to do, they could even explore Batman's rogues gallery without them being the main subject of the film. It sounds crazy, but I think it could really work. And now that I think about it, I think all these villains could work together in one movie, but you'll definitely be pushing that limit if you ask me. Something like the League of Assassins and Jason Todd would be a good pairing as foes, and maybe even Poison Ivy and Jason. I just want to see a villain as Jason for real. But then you can go back to being an anti-hero. You know, while I have you here, let's talk about this director choice. I mean, what dirt does this dude have on James Gunn to let him direct this project after completely bombing with The Flash? Now, I know it's not all his fault, because Ezra is Ezra, so that was a big hurdle, but it really doesn't help when your director just had a lazy story by the end and dodgy CGI throughout. I mean, I would like a director to bring a speciality to a project like fight choreography or really great cinematography, but Andy made a couple good horror movies and that's about it. I guess he's good at juggling multiple main characters, which I think could be a plus, but for this to be his first project right after destroying the Flash's IP, a lot of people are gonna have their grievances and problems with him. It's not A+ choice, but it's not completely terrible. I still expect him to exit this project once the strike is over. I don't know why, I just do. Also, we must keep this movie titled Brave and the Bold. Do not add Batman to this title. Protect your brand, please. Separate this from the Batman as most as you can. Also, spin-offs from this project would be abundant in my eyes. You can get a Red Hood and the Outlaws, the long talked about nIghtwing solo movie, or another Titan series or movie, a Red Robin series with Tim Drake, a proper Birds of Prey movie or show with Barbara. I also had a cool idea for a mini show. 10-minute episodes of Damian trying to sneak attack members of the Bat family, and maybe even just characters in DC in general. I think it'd be a cool idea, I don't really know. Also, last thing, I saw Blue Beetle and it was surprisingly good. And James keeps his word, this version of Jaime will be in the DCU as a character. Now, Superman Legacy is kind of shaping up to be a movie full of cameos, but I don't think Jaime should make an appearance as he is a new hero and Superman probably doesn't know him. But a lot of people were introduced to Jaime from Batman Brave and the Bold, so it would be kind of cool to see him appear in this movie. Although it doesn't make any sense for him to appear in any story I pitched, I'm just saying it would be cool. Batman could have been a friend of Ted Kord and he wants to know more about the new Blue Beetle. But again, in my pitches, makes 0 sense. But my pitches have 0 chance of being made, so Blue Beetle in Brave and the Bold is not super crazy to say. Anyway, if you enjoy, leave a like, comment what you think we can see from Brave and the Bold, subscribe for more, follow me on Twitter, you won't regret it, I tweet a lot.